This migration issue is particularly delicate because he backs Shabana Mahmood and has been publicly very supportive of her. And she thinks that they really need to do this, that they really need to be tough on migration and to show that they are being tough on legal migration as well. So that is the challenge here. And it'd be really interesting to see where Andy Burnham ends up on this, because he recognises this, right? He's got issues in his own new constituency where voters are very concerned about migration. So that's the balance that he faces here. He's got a load of MPs behind him who want to take a softer position on legal migration, who want to have a more generous approach to indefinite leave to remain. And you've got Shabana Mahmood on the other side saying, well, look, if you do that, there is a very real risk that we kind of get eaten by reform on the other side.
Well, it's a big week in politics. It feels like it always is at the moment, but this is a particularly big one. The Times political editor, Steven Swinford, is here. Morning, Steve.
Good morning.
Should we talk about the Home Secretary's plans for the day, and then we'll get on to talk about the Prime Minister, because Shabana Mahmood is going to be in the House of Commons talking about changes she wants to make. Does she have the full support of her party to do it?
So on these immediate changes she wants to make, yes. So she wants to close a loophole for the Rochdale gang leader, so they can be deported from the UK. And that is utterly uncontentious. There is only one small problem, the fact that Pakistan won't actually take him back. So that is going to get them into trouble, which is going to close that loophole. But more broadly, on the migration reforms, she's facing a battle here. She's got 80 Labour MPs who think that it's too tough and think this kind of making it harder for people to permanently stay in the UK. The Boris wave of migrants, this bulge of migrants that came after Boris Johnson's migration reforms, is the Labour MPs are not happy about that. So they are looking in the kind of compromise territory. And my colleague Matt Dayton has an exclusive on that today on some of the measures they're looking at.
Yeah, and that's the idea, that they could be relaxed. There could be some kind of lessening of the rules here to allow those reforms to get through Labour MPs. I mean, what the big question we've been asking, Steve, on the programme is about deportation of criminals too, and also about the criminals who are going to be released from prison early. Does it feel to you that this is a problem the government is going to have to get to grips with, and it will be Andy Burnham that has to do it?
It definitely is very high on his interest. So when you think about what Andy Burnham's got ahead, this is one of the biggest ones. We know separately he's really concerned about the early release of criminals. He wants to scrap the kind of jury trial reforms. We've all written about that. But this migration issue is particularly delicate because he backs Shabana Mahmood and has been publicly very supportive of her. And she thinks that they really need to do this, that they really need to be tough on migration and to show that they are being tough on legal migration as well. So that is the challenge here. And it'd be really interesting to see where Andy Burnham ends up on this, because he recognises this, right? He's got issues in his own new constituency where voters are very concerned about migration. So that's the balance that he faces here. He's got a load of MPs behind him who want to take a softer position on legal migration, who want to have a more generous approach to indefinite leave to remain. And you've got Shabana Mahmood on the other side saying, well, look, if you do that, there is a very real risk that we kind of get eaten by reform on the other side.
Steve, we know it's a big week because the Prime Minister is going to change. It's Keir Starmer's final week in the job. Andy Burnham will basically be the new Prime Minister by the end of the week. What have you got an eye on, though, in the coming days? What are you watching out for?
So the things that I'm really interested in is, on one level, Andy Burnham is at his most powerful at this point in time. He hasn't announced any cabinet appointments. So he is kind of North Korean levels of popularity among the PLP. So fine, great. That's all great. But behind it, people are worried because they don't know what jobs they're doing. They're insecure about their own futures. And that is leading to a lot of hostile briefing and a lot of toxicity under the surface. Now, that should iron itself out as it becomes very clear who the cabinet is. He'll announce that on July the 20th, the day he gets into power. But at the moment, it's kind of pretty febrile behind the scenes. And we, at the weekend, we're getting lots of briefings from people around Andy Burnham against each other. That say it's kind of bad mouthing each other. So it's fine for now, and he is at his most powerful. But the moment he chooses to govern, so when he chooses as Chancellor, the moment people start losing out, that is when things are going to get interesting. So I imagine this week we'll start to get an idea of where Andy Burnham wants to go on his Chancellor and other things, and that could create problems.
And Steve, there is a story in the paper this morning that I find really bizarre, which is this idea that MPs, Labour MPs, it sounds like, have compiled a list of essentially wrong-uns. So MPs that they don't like, think are a bit shifty, may have made unwanted advances, may have done something a bit wrong. They might be considered a bully. They've drawn up this list of MPs and peers, and they are preparing to hand it over to Andy Burnham so that he won't appoint any of them.
Yeah, this has happened before. This happened under the Tories. It was called the Westminster list. So I think we believe that this one is a spreadsheet. It's got kind of 30 or so now. I think it's right. It was about a dozen names on it when I was looking at it or talking to people about it on Friday. But it's being organised and done by some women in the Labour ranks who are concerned about the appointment of these people. But obviously those people don't know they're on that list, and they don't know that could potentially influence their future. So it's quite a controversial mechanism to be using ahead of Andy Burnham coming in. And people around Andy Burnham are receptive to this list. They're going to be given it in full with all the detail from the spreadsheet, and we'll just kind of see where we go from there. But obviously that is a highly contentious thing to do.
Yeah, I find that I can understand the motivation behind it, but I find it's a very strange thing to do because there is absolutely no test, as you say, of who's on that list. Just finally, Steve, obviously the death of Anne Widdecombe has featured in a lot of the papers. It's been featuring on this programme. We've been talking about it. In Westminster, what is the feeling about protection for MPs and former MPs? Is there a need to look at that again? Is there any move to look at that again?
There's no move at the moment, but what is very clear is Reform feel very strongly that their MPs are not protected enough. They've offered them their own private security to do that protection. We are in the middle of this. Obviously, there is a lack of information about what happened with Anne Widdecombe. And when you get that lack of information in the political world, that gets often filled with discussion around what may be, and people are concerned about their safety. And look, the one thing I would say, Kate, for all MPs is it's a really hard job being an MP, and they are subject to more death threats than they've ever been before. It is much more public facing, so people are worried, and that is one of the things that you're seeing feeding into this very difficult debate at this time about what's happening, because one, we don't know what's happened with Anne Widdecombe, and two, you've got lots of MPs who are worried for their safety anyway, and that makes it a very difficult combination.
Steve, as ever, thank you very much for being with us.
Thank
Great
you,
to have you with us. That is the Times political editor, Steven Swinford. And if you want more Steve, he's got a podcast. It's called The State of It.
Of course he does.
It's brilliant. It's with Patrick Maguire and Lara Spirit, and it's the best reporting and analysis of what's going on in Westminster.